Welcome in, belly up, have a seat and grab a drink as we talk some Wingman fantasy football. Welcome into another edition of Wingman Fantasy Football, the League Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Furley, and as always, I'd like to thank all of you, or any of you who may be watching or listening to today's show. This is episode 104, a Week 5's 2-point conversation. And it's my great pleasure to welcome back to the bar, Mr. Bernie, a.k.a. Team B.
I'm Cuban B. Yes, Cuban B.
How are you doing tonight, Mr. Bernie?
I am doing well tonight. There's no lightning or rain at my house.
Well, you are a lucky, lucky boy. All right, guys, we have another jam-packed episode for you. As this, in this episode, we will. Where am I? In this episode, we will start with some player news. We'll go through the studs and duds for Week 5, and we'll also settle into a nice Week 5's 2-point conversation. And we're going to do things a little differently this time, as we're just going to settle in and just have a little more freelance of a conversation and just shoot the breeze. But before we get into any of that, let's make sure that everybody is in the room. Wingmen assemble! All right, now that everyone is here, let's get into some player news. All right, guys, starting off with, of course, Cooper Kupp was inactive again for his third consecutive game, but there are rumors that he should be back by Week 7. Tank Dell was back on the field this week against the Jaguars, but unfortunately, Joe Mixon and Dameon Pierce have missed their second consecutive game, or is this the third game now for Joe Mixon? Third, making way for Cam Akers to settle in for his third consecutive start. Devontae Adams. He was inactive. He was inactive as he heals up before he gets traded. And we have Khalil Shakur was also inactive for the Sunday matchup against the Texans. And Jonathan Stewart, is that his name? Jonathan Stewart was also inactive with a high ankle sprain for the Colts. What do you have on any of these guys, Bernie? Any of these injuries? Were they surprises or they hurt you specifically?
No, nothing specifically, but I really am intrigued about this Devontae Adams thing. I kind of want to propose a trade out there to whoever's got him and just play some bets, man. You know, I don't know.
I did put a trade request out there for Mahomes first Adams straight up to see if you take it. He has no quarterbacks on his team. I knew that didn't sound right. Jonathan Stewart is not a person who plays in the NFL. Jonathan Taylor is who I meant there. Jonathan Taylor.
Then I have. Yes, then I am. I'm missing a stud. And
yes.
I can't wait to get him back. The Kenneth Walker stud that I have, he lost his tag, his questionable tag earlier today. So that felt good. But I could sure use some more depth at that position.
All right. I'm not sure because we're recording this later on Sunday and the Dallas-Pittsburgh game got delayed. But I noticed that Deuce Vaughn was inactive for Sunday night. And in my opinion, without seeing the field yet, seemingly making way for Dalvin Cook to get some action on the field on Sunday night. We'll just have to wait and see if that actually comes to fruition. Zamir White was inactive on Sunday's game for the Raiders, making way for Alexander Madison, new Papa Bear, to get the start. And a pair of Giants, Malik Neighbors.
You be my neighbor.
And Devin Singletary were both inactive, making way for the surprise start of Tyron Tracy and Wan'Dale Robinson, and maybe another receiver on the Giants might have had a strong day in place of Neighbors. And Anthony Richardson, thank goodness and mercifully, was inactive today for the Colts, making way for old man Joe Flacco to make his first start of the season for the Colts, and they are now going to be playoff bound. You heard it here first. And Jaylen Warren and Cordero Patterson were both inactive for the Sunday night's game, making way for start of the week, Najee Harris to pummel Amazing Spidey and get Lionized his first win. What about any of these players that we've mentioned this last few guys here?
Oh, my goodness. So with the Giants, Wan'Dale Robinson, I think he had a pretty decent day, nothing crazy, but makes me want to draft Daniel Jones or pick up Daniel Jones. I just don't know what it is. Something keeps calling me to him. He did trip over his lineman, and then I thought of you right away because he just looked goofy when he fell to the ground.
It's those dark, aimless eyes that look like they don't know what's going on, like a deer in the headlights. They just attract you. Can't help it.
Yeah, and I hope Joe Flacco stays in when Taylor comes back.
Yeah. Yes. All right. As for more injuries, unfortunately, these are the guys who actually left early today. Aaron Jones left the game early in London, got off to a great start, re-injured that hip that's been bothering him a little bit the last couple weeks, and he was not able to finish the game. And our number one receiver in all of fantasy football, Nico Collins, left early with a hamstring injury. I am not positive which leg it was, but he did have a hamstring injury in practice about 10 days ago. So I'm going to guess that this is an aggravation of that same injury. And Jake Moody, the kicker for the 49ers, left the game early with a high ankle sprain. And this had a lot to do with the strategies for these teams as a very close game as the Niners took on the Cardinals. And Devon the Man Achane got a concussion pretty early in this game, and he did not finish this game as well, to the chagrin of the Fantastics, who just keep losing Dolphins. And rookie receiver was starting to come on, but Xavier Legette had to leave the game early with a shoulder injury. All right, what about these guys who actually left today's games early? Do you have anything on these guys?
Oh, yeah. Legette, he was a guy that I plugged in right away. I was working some bye-week receiver issues that I have, and that's one thing that I will need to step it up. So Legette kind of let me down a little bit, but I understand he got hurt. No big deal. Your Dolphins assets, they just keep dropping like flies. So if you're starting Dolphins still, I don't know what you're doing. Work that waiver wire and get something else going, but I'm hope all the best for Mr. Achane.
All right, guys, let's find out who are our best players this weekend and who are our worst in this week's Studs and Duds.
Wingman Fantasy Football Studs and Duds.
All right, why don't you start us off with our studs for the week 5?
All right. Well, I'm going to start here with a quarterback, Mr. Joe. I'm still in the league. Flacco, 28.36 points, 359 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns. And this guy rushed for 22 yards. Then Mr. Kyler Murray, we're going to talk about him later this week, I believe, Mike. 26.1 points, 195 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, 83 rushing yards, and a rushing touchdown. This guy was all over the field today. Oh, there's a tight end up here. The third person I'm saying is a tight end. Tucker Kraft, 22.8 points, 4 receptions, 88 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. And Garrett Wilson coming out of the dark here, 22.6, 13 receptions, 101 receiving yards, and 1 touch.
All right. So, these tight ends are great. I love tight ends. You know my stance. Tucker Kraft. I can't wait to get him on my team and have him dud for me. That'd be awesome. Thank you. All right. Another player. Oh, not only is Joe Flacco still in the league, he is available out there to be picked up, guys. He is a free agent, or now he's on the waiver wire because the weekend has going on. But keep that in mind. If you need a superstar quarterback, they're available. Nick, Bernie, and Mac Daddy 2s, you guys all need quarterbacks. All right. Other studs this week, Darius Slayton took the place for Malik Neighbors, getting 22.2 points as he had 8 receptions for 122 yards and a touchdown. Alec Pierce does what he does, catches minimal catches for long yardage. He only had 3 catches for 134 yards with a receiving TD, but he earned 20.9 fantasy points. And Mike Evans, first ballot Hall of Famer, we'll discuss that later maybe, huh? He had 20.7 points with 5 catches, 62 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And the rookie, Brian Thomas Jr., had 20.7 points and a great day against the Mays and Spidey with 5 receptions for 122 yards and 1 receiving TD.
Oh, wow. Here we go. I'm leading this next section off with a tight end. And I think he's been on your team. Mr. Brock Bowers, 19.7 points, 8 receptions, 97 yards, almost there, almost that century mark, but 1 touchdown. And then another guy that you like, DeAndre Swift, 19 points even, 73 rushing yards, but he's got 2 receptions for 47 yards. So that puts him over 100 total and 1 touchdown. Brandon Ayuk, let's say his name correct, because he got 18.7 points, 8 receptions, and 147 receiving yards. And Chuba Hubbard, still chugging along here, I believe, 17.7 points, 97 rushing yards, 4 receptions, and 1 touchdown.
So Chuba Hubbard by far has been the best pickup, I think, in terms of waiver wire pickups this year. And he was recycling a few times there for Crazy Fish, but he put the money in, and he's been starting in these last 2 weeks, and he's been on this top stud list the last 2 weeks. Brock Bowers, another tight end. I love these guys. They're so good. Yes, yes, yes. And Brandon Ayuk can do it. Congratulations to you, sir. You get a hallelujah. All right, on to our next guys on here. We thought if this game would be close, Ramondre Stevenson could eat, and that's exactly how this one went down, as Ramondre Stevenson got 17.2 points with 92 total yards, 4 receptions, and a touchdown. And Kyren Williams
Release the Kraken.
got 17 points with 105 total yards, 1 reception, and 1 TD. And Younghoe Koo had 17 points as he had 3 field goals. 2 of them were over 50 yards and with 3 point after touchdowns. And the rookie Will Reichert for the Minnesota Vikings had 16 points today with 3 field goals. 2 of those were over 50 yards and 2 PATs.
Wow. Will who? I've never heard of that guy, but we'll probably see him on the waiver wires, right? Next up is another kicker, and it is Kaimi Fairbairn. Am I saying that right? Fairbairn?
Fairbairn.
Fairbairn. All right. 16 points even. So he had 3 field goals with 2 field goals at 50 plus yards and 2 points, 2 extra points. I'm sorry. Chase McLaughlin, another 16-point field goal kicker. 3 field goals with 2 field goals over 50 yards and 3 extra points.
So we had Fairbairn had a good game on here, including the game-winning 50-plus yarder at the buzzer. Today, we had a lot of kickers making late kicks to give their teams victories. It was a great day for kickers here. All right, unfortunately, it is time to get over to the duds. Why don't you start us off with our duds this week?
Oh, I'll be happy to say this guy's name. Because of the Washington stellar defense, Deshaun Watson only got 10.4 points. Tyler Huntley, Snoop, come on, you can do it, buddy. You can get better. 8.46 points for Snoop Huntley. Sam Darnold, you've been on our list for being good, but 8.26 points. You still got the victory, but that's a low score. And Andy Dalton, I'm going to give him a break because he's been stellar. 5.74 points. And
yeah, so
I believe.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I believe they put Mr. Young back in just to have some mop up duties at the end of that game.
Yeah, you mentioned before that Washington defense might be turning it around. They have now shut down Kyler Murray and Deshaun Watson. Not that they're the same caliber of quarterbacks, but they shut down the last 2 quarterbacks they've played. They've both been duds at just around 10 points. So maybe you're right. The defense might be turning the corner here for Mr. Quinn.
Oh, yeah, and, Mr. Quinn. That's it.
Yep. And Sam Darnold saw the old New York Jets uniform, and he had flashbacks to the worst days of his career, and he played like it today. Other players that were on the dud list today, Zach Moss could only get 6.7 points, maybe starting to make way for Chase Brown. Bucky Irving could only get 6.6 points, and Jalen Waddle, once again, is in the dud list at 6.6. And Roma Dudze can only get 6.5 points.
Yep, and I see another Dolphin asset up there, but hopefully he's good. He didn't get hurt, so it's a good sign for Mr. Waddle. All right, moving along here, we got Mr. Jerome. I'm not a Chevy, but I'm a Ford. Found on the side of the road, dead with 6.4 points. Tank Dell, 5.8 points. Aaron Jones, 5.8 points, and Brees. I'm not anywhere near Lightning Hall, 5.2 points. That's a lot of running backs for a lot of duds.
I think Brees Hall's got to check his shorts. He's getting skid marks on there, my friend.
Oh, boy.
All right. Jordan Addison can only get 5.1 points, and Fat Keenan Allen only got 4.8 points today. And Marvin Harrison Jr., without the touchdown, just doesn't get the points, as he can only get 4.6 points. And Carolina's passing game came back down to earth as Deontay Johnson could only get 4.4 points.
All right. And here is a tight end that is on the appropriate list. Dalton Kincaid, 4.4 points. Mr. Cortland Sutton, the uniforms look good. The throwback Denver uniforms look really good. And I'm not even a Denver fan. Cortland Sutton with the 4.2 points. Trey Tucker, 3.6 points. He had defenders jumping in front of him to catch these balls. And Braylon Allen, 3.3 points. Not a surprise. The Jets are not any good at the moment.
All right, we got a few more duds here, but I want to ask you a quick question while we're here because I didn't watch a lot of the games. I was just box score watching.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of good plays by Surtain. Did you happen to notice if Surtain was shadowing either Trey Tucker or Jacoby Myers, or was he just covering whoever's on his side, for example?
I did not notice, but I do know that his name was said quite a bit in that game. But I did not notice if he was shadowing.
The only reason I asked that because so far in every game, Surtain's his opponent has been on the dud list, and Trey Tucker made it here. Jacoby Myers did not have a good game until garbage time.
Yep.
So I was just curious if Trey Tucker was Surtain or just Denver as a whole.
You know, the one comment that I just made about Trey about the defender jumping in front of him, that might have been a Surtain interception if Surtain has an interception.
Surtain has 2 interceptions. One was a 100-yard return for a touchdown, and one was later in the game.
I think that's the one that I saw. Tucker had the ball, and Surtain was just, nope, I'm better than everyone on the field, and I will just jump and be in front of you and catch it like I was the receiver.
All right, I hate to say this here, but one of our starts of the week, Justice Hilton, the perfect type of script for his type of player, but he can only get 3 points today. And thank goodness Dontavian Wicks, the high-priced free waiver wire pickup from this past week, can only get 3 points, opening the door for a potential amazing Spidey comeback, how unlikely it may be. And Deebo Samuel.
Deebo
was a stud. A dud. Oh, I missed that. Was a dud at 2.5 points. And Devon Achane, we mentioned him earlier with the concussion, exited the game early and can only finish with 2.3 points. And Jerry Jeudy, part of that Browns debacle, only had 2.1 points.
Yep. And then we can move it along to Juwan Jennings, 1.8 points. He had a lot of looks to score, though. He had a lot of looks. It looks like they gave up on the run game and just wanted him to score for some reason. He couldn't get it done, though. And then Xavier Legette, my free agent pickup for my bye week help, 1.3 points, went out, like we said earlier, with a shoulder injury, and probably covered by Pat Surtain as well.
All right, so we went through a lot of studs and duds, but there's guys who have even leveled up even higher. And this stud list, this Mecca stud list, is actually pretty long this time around. So let's get into our Mecca studs.
Mega Studs.
All right, starting off with the highest scoring player in the week as up through the 4 o'clock games on Sunday. Kirk Cousins had 36.36 points at 509 passing yards, 4 passing TDs, and he was on Team B's bench in a close matchup against Red Sox Nation. We're going to see if this is going to haunt him as these scores get a little closer to the end of the weekend. Jamar Chase in a shootout with the Baltimore Ravens. He had 36.3 points for the Bengals with 10 receptions, 193 receiving yards, and 2 TDs. I forgot to write this down, but he was one of the players that had there were multiple big bomb touchdowns this week, and he had at least one that was 70 yards. And his teammate, of course, Joe Burrow, Joe Cool, 35.78 points with 392 passing yards and 5 passing touchdowns. Another one of my opponents, Lamar Jackson, at 35.42 points, had 348 passing yards and 4 passing touchdowns, and topped off his day with 55 rushing yards. That fourth quarter was very nice to Lamar Jackson. Drake, we have a back-to-back. We have teammates here from Atlanta who their quarterback was the highest scoring team. And of course, if he's getting those points, he's got to share them with Drake London at 27.4 points, who had 12 receptions, 154 yards, and a touchdown. And Atlanta Falcon teammates, number 1 receiver, Darnell Mooney for Team B, had 27.0 points with 9 receptions, 105 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. And is the backfield shifting as Tank Bigsby had 25.4 points with 129 total yards, including 1 reception and 1 TD. And DJ Moore, our second Bear on this list, had 25 points with 5 receptions, 105 yards, and 2 TDs. And the second receiver for the Bengals, T. Higgins, had 24.8 points with 9 receptions, 83 yards, and 2 TDs. What do you think about these Mecca studs? It was Atlanta. It was Cincinnati. Boy. That was the majority of it right there. And we had some Bears and some Ravens.
Yeah, this is a great list. The Drake London, Darnell Mooney, they're going to cancel each other out as far as fantasy value goes in a matchup. But that Kirk Cousins sitting on the bench might come back to bite me. And DJ Moore getting a little revenge game on Carolina. I like it. I like it a lot.
All right, guys. It is now time to settle in our Week 5 2 points conversation.
Is Jack Del Rio going to go for 2 here,
He's
Link?
going for 2.
The Raiders will go for 2 and the probable victory with 47 seconds left.
If you don't make this, you lose. If you make it, you're in a position to win.
Wingman Fantasy Football's 2 point conversation.
And it's good! Oh my goodness!
All right, we have a big time battle. We had a fireworks starting off our Thursday night with Atlanta and the Bucks, and we had Team B, Bernie's Team B, up against Red Sox Nation, and they both got started off hot in that game. And guess what? I have a special news for you guys. We're bringing in to the bar Mr. Red Sox Nation. He's going to join us right now and start talking trash with his opponent as he's going up against Team B. All right, how you doing tonight, Mr. Jimerson? How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great right now. I'm watching this game. They finally started the Dallas-Pittsburgh game. I got a couple some points here from CeeDee Lamb, but Bernie, we're in for a barn burner Sunday night, Monday night. We both got players going.
Oh yeah, we sure do.
I'm going to tell you right now, I am terrified. I am not watching this Sunday night game. I'll look at the stats when it's over because I can't take it. I'm on tilt, man. I'm freaking out.
Well, it just started, so for all those on the East Coast, good luck watching the end of that game.
All right, why don't we start off? You guys had you guys can tell me exactly what you have, but you had some big time players, some in your lineups, some on your bench, as you had both had a combination of Atlanta Falcons and Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I think, or were they all Falcons? You let me know. But you guys got off to a hot start Thursday night with the shootout in the NFL and fantasy between the Atlanta Falcons and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Why don't you recap us a little bit on the players you had in that game?
You want to start, Mike, because since you had Baker Mayfield in there.
Yeah, it was a great week for the bye week for Jalen Hurts. So Baker plugged right in. Baker's actually been playing really well. I'm thinking about starting him going forward. We'll see. But yeah, Baker played great. I threw, I think, 3 touchdowns, had 42 rush yards. And then, of course, Drake London was the man. Obviously, Darnell Mooney basically copied him the entire way. Probably should have had the 3rd touchdown there, Bernie. Dropped that open pass at the end there. So,
yep.
But they basically canceled each other out, like you said.
Yeah, I was looking at that, and then I didn't realize that that Hurts was on the bye. And when I pulled up our matchup, I was like, oh no, he's got Mayfield in. I hope you do keep Mayfield. I hope you keep Mayfield going for as long as you can. No, I think it's a good pick. That's your second quarterback that's going to start, lighting it up again. As far as the Mooney and London thing goes, though, you're still going to have that slight advantage with London just because he might just be getting better and better and better, and more Kirk throws it to him, the better he's going to get. So Mooney might start to fall to the wayside, but I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, cancel each other out. Now,
I think Kirk is starting to trust Mooney more in those tighter windows. He goes to him more on the end of the game plays. Yeah. He'll hit London if he's open. He'll throw to Mooney no matter what.
Exactly. But Cousins sitting on my bench, it's one of those, like, I had the 2 stacks available to me. I had the Cousins Mooney stack, or I could go back to the well with tonight's Fields and Pickens stack, which paid off for me last week. So I think I'll be okay.
Remember, fantasy football is not about what you did for me last week. Can't play that way. So we'll see. I don't know. Right now, Pickens, 1 catch, 8 yards.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting at a 1.62 points and 1.3 points against your 1.7 CeeDee Lamb points, so I'm okay.
All that matters is that those projected points are starting to shrink, right? Get closer to each other on each side.
Oh, do we really want to talk about projected points though? No. So Yahoo doesn't know what to project.
Exactly.
So we had a big time shootout like Thursday night, but we also had some shootouts today, or at least one that caught my attention. The Baltimore-Cincinnati game was a huge statistical game. What do you guys have on this particular game? As Baltimore came back in overtime, they came back to send it to overtime, And then they were able to take this one down with a big Derrick Henry run to get him in the field goal range. And they said, we're good enough. They didn't even try to score any closer. Once they got to that 25-yard line, like, we're just going to kick it.
Well,
it was
go ahead, Mikey. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
It was a great game to watch because I own nothing in those two teams. So no stress. Those are those games where if you play, FanDuel, DraftKings, you hope you had those players going in your lineup. If you did, you won some money today. I unfortunately did not. So it was just it was a good old fashioned shootout. Those are fun to watch, especially when you had to watch that today on the other channels. So I enjoyed it. It was great, and it came down to a fumble in overtime that changed the game, and a missed field goal.
Yeah, and I agree 100% with that sentiment. I actually like to watch Baltimore now because I like to watch Derrick Henry run, especially when he gets going. He's a man amongst boys. Yeah. When he was going down for that last long run at the end of the game, I was just caught it just like, oh, somebody's about to score, and I'm like, oh, and he's throwing people down with his arm. He was so big. I thought it was a linebacker, like going down, like throwing people down. I'm like, what? Who? Oh, it's Derrick Henry. It's Derrick Henry.
Longest run of the day. I think his longest run before that was 7 yards. Yeah, that was it. They contained him pretty well.
That was a 51-yard run.
Yeah,
yep.
For a to end the game.
Yeah. Yeah, and Henry, he's always starts stuff a little bit slow sometimes, but he just keeps churning. And by the time they get to the end of those games, he's still got so much juice left, and he's just plowing through defenders. But he wasn't the only, rusher in the game. Lamar Jackson rushed for 55 yards on 12 carries, and he had a long of 18. Mike, how did that feel having that guy running against you in your matchup?
Honestly, it wasn't the running that bothered me today. It was his passing yards and touchdowns, man. He threw 3 touchdowns in the last 7 minutes of the game. It killed me.
Last 7 minutes.
I don't know exactly, but they came back. They were down like 17 points with about 10 minutes or less, and he kept throwing touchdown passes, which is better than a touchdown run. But I was like, come on, Derrick Henry, let's run some touchdowns in, get Justice Hill going. And it was all Lamar Jackson there. And they teased me because Mark Andrews had 0 points until about 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Then he was his last 2 drives, safety blanket, getting 4 or 5 catches just to make his day look good enough. But he had 0 points for most of the game, and I was getting ready to drop him before the game ended. Then he caught 3 passes in a row. I'm like, now I got to hold on to this jerk for another week.
Yeah, and then we've been talking about Zay Flowers being a little quiet on the bench, and he blew up today with 12 targets, and he had 111 total yards today. So whoever was sitting on Zay Flowers, and is it King George that had Zay Flowers?
King George has Zay Flowers. Yeah. I think he was in the lineup today. I think he started.
Good, because he needed to give her some points.
Mikey, how you feeling about Kelsey tomorrow night?
Well, I can't feel good, but I feel this is the best I've felt about him all year, just because of circumstances. But I don't know.
He's due. He's due.
We'll see.
So, MJ, what about on the Bengals side? Did you see anything exciting out of Joe Burrow?
Yeah, he came alive. Right. It's amazing that the way he starts every year. Right. It's slow. The team just can't get wins in the beginning of the year. And I think, Mike, your brother Andrew has him on his roster. He played him today and benefited. Just keep playing him, because if history tells us anything, he's going to perform as the season goes on. And they're going to win games, right? They're not out of it, especially with those receivers, Higgins, Chase, and the other guy. I can't even say his last name. Iosivas or something.
Yushivas.
Yushivas.
It's like, yo, Shivas.
Yes, exactly. Bless you.
Hey, don't forget Gesicki over there getting 31 yards on 2
catches. Yeah.
Don't forget about Gesicki, our old Dolphin friend.
I think the problem for Cincinnati. Well. I think the problem for Cincinnati today was they were in the lead, and every time they got the ball back, they scored too quickly. They scored on big bombs instead of taking some time off the clock. Yeah. They could have scored in 4-minute drives instead of 18-second drives. I think that would have made the difference in their game today.
What bothered me in overtime when they got the ball back right around the 50-yard line, 40-yard, like 45, somewhere in there on the Ravens side, they just decided to run it. And, they had one-on-one matchups on the outside with Jamar Chase, and he had 13 receptions for 193 or whatever it was. I would have gone back to him and see it. I trust Joe Burrow, right? That's what I would have done. Make that field goal 30 yards instead of 54 or whatever it was. It was a long field goal.
Yeah.
And obviously we know what happened.
Yeah, when you don't have the bruiser like Derrick Henry, it's really hard. Like Zach Moss didn't really show up today, not in the rushing game, so it was tough for them to do that. Now, as far as Jamar Chase goes, though, I think this game kind of shows us that if T. Higgins is not playing well, the loss of Tyler Boyd, if they don't have something else going on, Jamar Chase might not have these big games that he's supposed to have like Jefferson has. What do you guys think about that?
I don't know.
Yeah,
he's had his two bigger games. Well, he had one big game without T. Higgins, or was that the first game he played? Is this T. Higgins' third game or second game?
Second game.
So I think he's had two of his biggest games with Higgins back on the field.
Yeah.
And he hasn't had a dud since he's been there. I think he had a good game last week, but not as good as this week and 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, he commands double teams, and when Higgins is out there, Higgins is a wide receiver one on any other team.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, it's easy to give Chase more space when Higgins is out there. So he definitely will benefit going forward with Higgins out there. The question is, can Higgins stay healthy enough? That hamstring. I had Higgins last year. He rode the bench a lot for me with injury, and very frustrating. Actually, in my draft this year, I think I had the choice between. Who was it? Stephon Diggs and T. Higgins, and I went with Diggs this time just because I didn't want to deal with Higgins anymore.
Yeah.
All right, we got another game here that was also a comeback, not nearly as exciting, but still came down to the end. The Miami Dolphins on the road against the New England Patriots, and this game was like 10-3 or 10-zip. Patriots were up for most of the time. I thought I had our little wingman jam locked up here until a late score by the Dolphins. So what do you guys have on this game? Did you have any fantasy players in this game, by the way? I'm staying away from Dolphins and Patriots at the moment.
I do not. I have no Dolphins.
So you guys are just watching this as Dolphin fans or Dolphin adjacent fans, right?
Exactly.
Dolphin fans, yeah.
So how'd this one go? I know Achane left the game early. The last I saw, Mostert had just a few yards, but I don't know if he ended up getting more as the game wore on. I didn't really pay attention as the game was closing up here.
Yeah, Mostert finished pretty well. So did Jalen Wright. Jalen Wright looked fantastic. If they don't continue to play him, I don't know what this coaching staff is doing. He showed bursts of speed. He showed vision to find the holes. It was great to have him back there. And obviously with Mostert healthy, I won't even say it's a change of pace because Mostert is just as quick. But just two really good backs back there, and they really showed their run game and they wore down the Patriots to end that game.
Yeah,
I think what works for the Dolphins, they need, I don't want to say thunder or lightning, that's a little cliche, but they need the bigger guy and they need the quick guy. And when they have, like, they wasn't working with Achane and Wright, but it works with Mostert and Achane.
Yeah.
Maybe now Mostert and Wright, like complementary type players. Maybe that's what will make Wright more effective, because he wasn't looking that good when he was sharing time with Achane. But when you have maybe a bigger back to worry about, maybe just that helps the balance of the field for those guys.
Yeah. Well, real quick. The other key factors today was Teron Armstead played.
Yes,
and it's a completely different line when he plays.
Yeah. So as far as the two backs go, they both combined for 166 yards together, 86 for Wright and 80 for Mostert. So they were both right there neck and neck with each other. So what I think needs to maybe happen is the coach needs to think about this. If Huntley's going to be your guy, and he's got some wheels too. He's not a sit in the pocket kind of guy. Maybe some split tailbacks going on, throw some really different looks. Let's bring it back to the 90s. So people have to dig deep into the defensive coordinators have to really dig deep to be like, what kind of looks are we going for here? Who's doing this, And maybe Vic Fangio can have a plan for that since he was coaching back then.
So did the Dolphins score a touchdown, or they have 5 field goals? They had to have a touchdown, right?
No, they got a touchdown. Point? Yep.
And they went for 2
they
probably?
Went for 2.
Yeah. Who scored the touchdown for them?
It was
Alec
a rushing
Ingold.
touchdown. Yeah,
okay.
Alec Ingold. Okay. And he deserved it. I mean, that whole drive, they ran the ball, and Ingold was in every play. And
he's great. He's a great player.
He's awesome. Absolutely.
Yeah. And the other thing that they need to do is what they did today and get Jonnu Smith in the game. He had 5 receptions for 62 yards. He is a big, bad MF, man. Get
he's
him
good.
in the game.
Exactly.
So let's go back to just a little comparison here. So if Jamar Chase kind of plays up there when Higgins is on the field, because Higgins needs attention and Higgins is going to get it if they're doubling Chase, what about Hill and Waddle? Why can't we have the same luxury as Dolphin fans? Because they're both great. Would Waddle not be a number one on any other team?
Burrow, Huntley. That's why.
Yeah,
right now, once you get if you have Tua back or someone closer,
yes,
yeah.
It's also the offense that McDaniel runs, right? It's a very quick release, timing offense. Mm-hmm. And I think what happened today is he actually changed the game plan, right? Allowed Huntley to drop back, look around, have time back there. Honestly, there's a couple times where, I mean, he's got legs. I wish he would have run.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He had 10 yards on a couple of plays where he could have picked up a first down. Instead, he completed a couple passes when he did it, but threw a couple away too. And so it's, use those legs, get us some yards. Let's move the chains forward.
Okay, so let's shift to a little negative aspect of this game. Kicking and special teams. What in the world happened?
Well, the special teams were special today. I'll put it that way. I think they had a blocked field goal. They had he doinked one off an upright. There was a blocked punt, right? Just not a good day for the special teams and the special teams coach. So they've got the bye week coming up. They got some things to work on and fix there because you're going to Indianapolis in 2 weeks, and Joe Flacco will not be as forgiving as the New England Patriots were today.
Oh yeah, the Patriots looked rough. So
the offense might not be as forgiving, but the Colts defense will be way more forgiving.
Oh yeah, yes. I don't know, the Colts defense. Well, I don't know. They had two good games this year, and today I actually in another league I think I played them, and against the Jags. Wow, they looked like Swiss cheese. Tank Bigsby blew it up.
Yeah, it was Trevor Lawrence's birthday though, so the NFL threw him a little birthday gift there.
That's right. That Jag game was another game that ended on a 50-yard field goal to win the game at the buzzer for I forget their kicker's name. It's like Cam Little, maybe? Is that it?
Cam Little, yes.
So there's a bunch of late kicks today. A couple at the buzzer or near the buzzer, and that was a big comeback for the Jaguars as they got their first win of the season. So yay for them.
The NFL does not like losing seasons. So,
but they almost blew that game because they were up by
big pass. Oh, there we go.
The Jaguars were up by 2 scores late in that game, and Flacco brought them back with a couple bombs to Alec Pierce to make that a tie game. They tied it up with only a minute or two to go, and then they had the Jacksonville Jaguars got that last second field goal to win it. But they almost gave up another comeback victory. They almost had another defeat as their opponent came back on them, but they were able to get it back at the end.
Good stuff.
All right, I'm going to move these 4 o'clock games because these are ones I don't know if I told you guys off camera. I am on full tilt. I can't watch these games right now, but I was watching the box score like that makes it any better. And I was staring, of course, at the 2 of the 3 later games, the San Francisco versus Cardinals and the Green Bay versus the Rams. And I just want to talk about bad coaching in terms of time management. I don't know what these guys are doing. And the worst thing about it, these coaches that make big-time blunders in their time management, they still win the game. It's like, yay! It's like what was the coach last year for the Chargers? Was it Staley?
Yes,
who would go for it on his own side of the field in 4th down late in the game when they're down by 2 or up by 2. I mean, and then the other team would miss a field goal at the buzzer and they'd win. It's like, well, we win. 2 out of 3 times we go for it on 4th down at our own side of the field. Like, not because you did anything smart or right. You got lucky they missed the field goal, man.
Yeah.
So this one, the one that bothered me here was the Green Bay Packers. I wish I had the actual numbers down. They were up by 2 scores late in the game, but after a great drive from the Rams, they got it down to 5 points with about 4 minutes to go. And so the Packers had the ball. They're up by 5. I think they got a good return on the kick, so they didn't start deep in their territory. They were like at the 28-yard line, maybe 32, give or take. And the Rams had 3 timeouts. So right now you're trying to get a couple first downs is good. Scoring is best. But the very least you want to do is make them use all their timeouts and get to the 2-minute warning. They got fortunate in the very first handoff to Josh Jacobs was a 13-yard play. They got the free first down, so that first timeout was not on going into second down. It was going into first down again. So, bam, now they're going to get all the way down the 2-minute warning by that one first down. And instead of continuing to run the ball, because they didn't have to score, scoring is bonus. Time is time and getting rid of their timeouts is a necessity, and then you play from there. And they passed an incomplete pass. They didn't have to use a timeout. Then they run the ball. They get 0 yards. So now it's 3rd and 10. The other team uses the timeout there. That's so they use a second timeout, and now we're at 3rd down again. It's like that first down you didn't take advantage of it. You would have made them use a whole other timeout, and another first down. You would have run the game out. At that point, you'll need one more first down after the 2-minute warning. Then they throw an incomplete pass again, and then the guy kicks like an 18-yard punt. Like, what are you guys doing? The easiest thing you could have done, even if you just knelt the ball down after that first down from Jacobs, the Rams would have had the ball on their side of the field with 2 minutes or less left. That would be the bare minimum and the easiest thing to do. But instead, they get the ball back with 3 minutes and 48 seconds left, with still 2 timeouts in their pocket, or 1 timeout in their pocket, and the 2-minute warning. And the Rams just went right down the field, and luckily they stopped in the last minute as they didn't convert on the last 4th down. So, yay, good job, Green Bay coach. You did a really good job of winning this game, but you gave the other team 10 more plays to come down and try and take the win there. It bothered me so much, especially because I wanted to hand the ball to Jacobs and get some like a Derrick Henry run. I thought he was going to break a long run at the end of the game to ice it. Just keep running to him, and maybe one of those runs would be a 28-yard run, and the game's over.
Wow. Well, I didn't realize that the 2-point conversation was going to be a Mike rant right in the middle of it here. It's great. That's great. I love it. Love it.
I'm 1-3, guys. I'm going to be 1-4.
Tell us how you feel. Tell us how you really feel. No, but it's the same. It's almost like a trend though, because these coaches are all coming from the same coaching tree. It's like that's their mindset. There's a particular thing that they need to do. It's back in the 90s that the Dolphins used to just always run a prevent defense. They would just be up by so many points, and then all the Dolphin fans would be like, "Don't run the prevent." Like that was our thing. It's like these coaches, man, they just don't know.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
He's playing McVay. So he's might trying to like 2 steps ahead. I know you think I'm going to do this, but I'm really going to do this.
Exactly. Yeah, they all come from that coaching tree. They're all friends. So they probably think it's a game of chess, right? I know exactly what you're going to do here. I got to change it up. I will say that I know, Mike, you weren't a fan of it, but I like it. I like it because – it's not predictable, and you got to go for it, right? Even today, you can tell McDaniel changed his game plan. It was a 4th and 1 play. We're down 10-6 in Patriot territory, and he decided to kick a field goal for a team that's 1-3 at that point and not putting points up at all. That sent a message like, I don't trust what's going on here. So I don't know. I feel like I enjoy, like, if I like them trying to go for it and end the game in those situations. And sometimes it works out, and, sometimes it's going to bite you in the knee, what. So to me, I thought – and LaFleur always goes for that stuff. He's like Brandon Staley, right?
Yeah.
Like you said before. He always goes for it. It's that coaching tree. They've been taught the analytics, say this, and you go for it.
Without a dog in the fight, though, yes, it's entertaining. It's fun to watch. I like to see it.
I like it
with the dog in the fight. With a hundy on the game. With a player going. What are you? You're changing your tone a little bit. You're like, whoa! We don't need to be going for it here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Run the ball. Take the timeout.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it's all how do you view it?
Yep. So the similar coaching tree again. San Francisco once again this week was up by. I don't know how many points, 13 to 17 points, and just incomplete, interception, fumble. Just run out the freaking clock. You have a horse in Mason. Again, another one of my running backs. Maybe I'm biased here. I'll admit that. But it's like they could have run off the same with in a way it worked out for Cincinnati because they scored. But by going for this, you're leaving so much time on the clock. The enemy to the team that's down is time. You can punt the ball. But why don't you take 3 minutes before you do it? At the very least, you failed, but you took off a whole drive from them. When you do this stuff and just keep going incomplete passes, yeah, you catch it, it looks great. But even the Cincinnati, they caught it and they scored and they still gave time to the other team. You know what I mean? So, like, it's about running time off the clock. You don't want to be predictable. Use a play action here or there. Scramble with the quarterback. Purdy was running a lot to keep some of those drives going. Without that, they wouldn't have had even as long of drives they did. But for the second time this year, with a big lead against a much inferior opponent, I think both were at home, too, if I'm not mistaken, let a team come back in the Cardinals. And the Cardinals weren't even passing well. They came back with a running game, similar to what Kyron Williams did for the Rams 2 weeks ago. It was Connor had not a great game, but he was the one moving the chains in that second half for them to keep him in it because they gave him time to do that.
So Shanahan, right? Let's just say the number 28-3. Obviously, all of that goes on. Not all of it. The majority of it goes to Dan Quinn because he was the head coach. But clearly, there's something going on with the same sort of aspect of it. Purdy looked like a man on fire, though. He was being chased. His scrambling was just like there was one play. I think the stat came out that he ran 63 yards to get 10 because he was like scrambling, going up, left and right, and just to get the 10 yards. But he was 19 of 35 today. Like if you're throwing it 35 times and you're only getting 19, you shouldn't be winning the game. 2 interceptions on that. I mean.
His interceptions were at the worst time. I think one was in the red zone ready to score, and one was at the end when they were trying to come back at the end there. Yeah. So not only the interceptions, but they took away at least 3 points, if not 7 points, on his interceptions today.
Well, and remember, even though what's the running back, Jordan Mason? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Mason. He's no McCaffrey though, right? And so it's the same thing with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, right? When McCaffrey's on the field, the defense is going to play you much different than when Jordan Mason's in the back there. So I think the 49ers are still feeling that adjustment, and they got to figure out how to play the change in the scheme that the defenses are playing against them, so that they can figure out how to get Mason out and running, and Purdy's got to calm down and play his game. But once McCaffrey comes back, you'll see a difference in that offense. It'll be humming.
Yeah. So just to give you an aspect or a look at it, Mason only had 1 receiving target, and he caught it for 9 yards, but he only had 1. So, and then I don't know, was Debo on the injury report at all? Because he only had 1 reception on 3 targets, and then he only ran the ball only 1.
I don't know if he was. I don't know if he was getting open or if they were forcing it. I think they were. Again, I was box score watch. I was watching the whole thing in real time box score. It looked like to me they were potentially forcing the ball to get Ayuk going, and perhaps that took him out of a flow. Ayuk had a great game, but I feel like they weren't, because Purdy's a much more efficient passer when he's kind of hitting the guy who's open, as opposed to I got to get this guy going, this guy going, this guy going. I just, at a box score glance, it seemed like they were forcing the ball towards Ayuk a little bit, and maybe that took him off a little bit of their overall balanced rhythm, maybe.
Right. Well, to tie the whole conversation in, if Higgins is getting 147 yards and Jamar Chase is only getting 11, Cincinnati's not winning that game. So if Brandon Ayuk is getting 147 yards and Debo is only getting 11, San Fran is not winning this game.
Right. On the other side of the ball, though, I thought about it a little bit, and I actually liked what the Arizona Cardinals did. There was I think there was a drive where they were down. They went by 2 or by 1. They went by 1, so they must have been down by 2. They went for it on two earlier in the game when they were to get it down to a 2-point game. I thought that was interesting. I was kind of like, you can go either way with that, because if you don't get it, they would have been down 3 points. Right? No, they were down 4 points.
It was 23-13 going.
No, if they didn't get it, they would have been down 4 points. They would have needed a touchdown. But there were still like 8 minutes left. So you're not assuming you're stopping them. You're hoping that you hold them to a field goal and you're still within a 1-score game.
Right.
And at worst, if you don't get it, you're still in a 1-score game where you can win with a touchdown as opposed to tie it. So that was kind of a mixed match. I think they went for it because there was a roughing the passer or unnecessary roughness after the touchdown. So I think they got the ball moved up from the 2 to the 1. So I think they went for the 2-point conversion because of the ball placement. I'm pretty sure there's a penalty on the touchdown, so they were able to get closer. And John Connor ran in a 2-point conversion. But that wasn't the part that made it. That was interesting, and that was risky. But the part that I liked that they did at the end. Now again, I had Murray here, so I wanted to go more and try and go for the score. Hey, that's what I'm looking at. But anyway, they settled in. They settled in, and they went for a late field goal. And once they got to about once they got to the 20-yard line or so, I'm not sure exactly. They weren't super close, like 28-yard line.
Yeah.
They like pretty much ran the ball to get the ball centered, and they ran off the minute and a half that I was saying the other team should have done. And I was like, that's a little riskier, giving some time back. But then I realized Jake Moody got injured and was leaving the game, so their punter was their kicker. So they were going to put the onus on the San Francisco kicking game after a score, being like, we think we can hold you, and if you get there, you're going to kick the ball. You're going to have to get to the 30-yard line or closer, as opposed to the 40-yard line, to go for this game-winning field goal. So as I realized they're playing against the punter as the place kicker now for the 49ers, I think taking off the time and settling to get the 1-point lead there, even though that wasn't the gut throat play. The gut throat play would have tried to score the touchdown and get it by 8. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
but, I think, or 7, whatever it would have been. I think that was right. They made him use the timeouts. They took off the extra minute and a half, and they're like, "You're playing your backup. We're gonna go for this." And then Purdy threw an interception on the second play after that drive anyway.
Yeah,
but that one was
wasn't
like,
even.
I thought. Yeah, go ahead.
I was saying that wasn't even their backup. There was a fourth down earlier in the game where they went for it because they didn't want, and it was a inside a 40-yard kick, and they were like, "No, we don't even want."
Well, that's what I'm saying. That extra factor, I was like, I think that's the conservative play. But again, at worst, you take all that time off and you put it into a backup kicker, and like if they close the door. So like, I'm just saying, I know it's fun to be aggressive, but sometimes when it's late in games and one scores, that clock is as much as important as the amount of points you get in that drive.
Right. It's a coach playing to the other team's weakness. I mean, he coached it. He coached it perfect.
All right. I'm not watching. Can you guys give me a little update here on this Dallas-Pittsburgh game?
Dak just got a sack and fumble.
Yeah, end of the first, but CD did catch a long catch. He's got 4 catches for 53 right now. So.
Okay, guys, I don't care about your players. What's Najee Harris doing?
Sitting on the bench at the moment. But
what's the score? Is the score 0-0?
No, it's 3-3.
It's 3-3. Might as well be 0-0.
Yeah. No. We got a kicker. We got Aubrey. That's good. We'll take field goals. All right, We're good. All right.
Absolutely.
All right, we're gonna shift this 2-point. We're going to shift this 2-point conversation a little bit away from football, and I got a question for you guys as we're getting a little bit along in this episode here. What are your thoughts on looking up or trying to avoid spoilers for movies or TV shows that are coming out in the near future here? So I'm going to start with you, just give you a little tease, just a thought here. So I want to see The Joker 2, for example, and everyone says it stinks, and I'm trying not to get why it stinks, but it's hard to not, you want to click the video, and then I turn it off with about a minute and a half left before they get to the spoilers. I'm like teasing myself here. What do you guys think about trying to avoid? How hard is it, or can you not help yourself and you look up stuff on new content coming out?
Okay, so if it's a TV show, right, I won't watch any of the previews. If it's like a new Netflix series or something like that, I won't watch any of the previews. At the end of a series or at the end of an episode, when they show like what might happen next week, I don't watch any of that. Because I want to be like excited about what's about to happen. I'm not in any like fan chat things. I don't really talk to people outside of you guys about stuff like this. I always just like, hey, this is a good show. You guys should check this out. So I'm pretty good about not wanting to spoil something if it's something I really want to see. So I'm good. Movies, it's a little harder with movies than it is TV series, though.
Go ahead, Mike. What do you think about this?
I don't go looking for it, right? If it comes and finds me, exactly. Whether it's through my kids, my wife, or I'm just scrolling through social media, right? I guess these devices are listening. I'm sure some spoiler will show up at some point in one of my feeds, but I don't, especially movies. I don't want to know. I try not to know when there's like big movies that come out with you. I try to avoid all social media at all possible. And anything on like Netflix with seasons or stuff like that, I don't usually go looking. I don't like to look at trailers. I prefer to just be surprised, but I know that there's people that live in my house that like to know. And so I have to avoid my family at all costs too.
I do that too, but for different reasons. So, all right. My next question is this: what about stuff that's like either a remake, for example, if there's a book, like not Harry Potter specifically, but say there's a book that's already been out or a video game that's already been out, and they're doing an adaptation. So it's not so much of a spoiler of what's to come, but a spoiler that's already been done that maybe you have or haven't seen yet. I'm thinking now, The Last of Us 2 teaser trailer. It came out, and I've already watched most of the gameplay on that. So I've never played the game, and I know the whole story. And I was like, I don't know if that's good or bad.
Well, I think it's one of those things where it wouldn't be a new thing for me. Like, I'd just wait because I'm watching a couple different things anyway. So it's just like I'll put it in my like watch list, and then I'll just watch it way later. So I'm not even worried about it at that point. Nobody's talking about it anymore. It's by the wayside. So
I'm with you, B. If I've seen it, if I like read that book already, or I already know, I don't need to go look at spoilers. I'll just wait till I finally pop that thing on and watch it.
Exactly.
You guys are more what's the word I want? I lost the word. You guys are more in control of yourselves than I am, I guess. That was the worst way to phrase it.
We have willpower, Mike. Willpower.
There you go, willpower.
Wait, but let's go circle all the way back here. So Joker 2, do you know anything about it? I don't want to say something because I don't want to spoil it for you, but do you know anything about it?
I just know what people think about it.
Okay. So you don't know about what the movie actually is and how it is made and stuff?
I know the aesthetic of it, and I know that people don't like it, but I don't know plot points.
Okay, so the aesthetic of it, there's a factor in the movie that I think that's why people don't like it, and I don't want to say what it is because I want you to go see it and be surprised. I don't want to be the person that ruins it for you.
Are you talking about songs?
Well,
something more specific?
What do you know about that?
There's a lot of singing and dancing in it, or at least it breaks off that way.
So it's like a musical.
Have you seen it?
I have not seen it. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just know what other people have told you.
No. But that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that's probably why people are saying they don't like it because they didn't expect that to be in it. So I think you should go in it and be good.
Are you guys Rotten Tomato people? Will you go look at the scores and read those types of things before you make an opinion?
No.
I just watch YouTube review shows and stuff.
Yeah.
No, the thing I've seen about that what makes it not people don't like it is not that there is music in it. People are like, I like musicals. It's not that. It's that the music takes you out of the previous scene. Like it doesn't emphasize the action that's going on. It's so like that's the part. Not that it is music, that the music doesn't fit with what's going on.
Yeah,
but that's musicals not for me.
People, what are you talking about? Did you not like South Park? Come on, now.
A little different.
That is a complete musical. Trey Parker and Matt Stone purposely set that movie to be a musical. That is a musical.
All right, guys, we're getting a little later in this episode here, so we're going to move this along now to our early waiver wire thoughts. I know you're not really prepared here, Mike, so we're going to spit out some names, and you let us know if these are guys to even consider. We'll make our decisions later in the week after some more information, but let's see. Let's start off with some quarterbacks, Bernie, that you might think are worth early waiver wire thoughts.
Oh, my goodness, Mr. Joe Flacco.
Yeah, no, I would – if I was in need of a quarterback, I would be all over him. I've never even rostered – I don't think I've ever rostered 3 quarterbacks in this league.
Oh, it's fun.
Well, I said roster. You draft 3 from the get-go.
Yeah.
But Flacco, just because he is continuing from the way he was playing last year, I would definitely take the flyer on him and see what happens.
So
the only problem with Flacco is that you don't know if he's actually going to start next any forward week because Richardson's getting closer and closer. But I think they want Richardson to get all the way healthy. You know what I'm saying? And see where they're at by that time. If they're in playoff contention, maybe they'll stick with Flacco. If they lost a few games, then maybe they'll put Richardson back in.
Okay. So what about Daniel Jones then? And Daniel Jones has got a matchup with Cincinnati next week, and we just saw a shootout going back and forth there.
I'm not a huge fan of Jones, obviously. He's obviously okay, but the matchup is also very nice. So the combination of okay and nice matchup makes it a worthy thought process to potentially picking up Daniel Jones, especially with bye weeks coming up here.
I like Daniel Jones if Malik Neighbors and Devin Singletary are playing. Right, I think he's worth the pickup as long as so too. I know they played well today, but they got to prove it more to me that he can be consistent without those weapons.
So we got a couple other Giants on this list here. We have Darius Slayton, who was actually the surprise. Wan'Dale Robinson had a good game, but he was the clear replacement for Malik Neighbors. But Darius Slayton had the big game today for the Giants. What do we think about him moving forward? Is he worth picking up only if Neighbors is out, or was today just a lucky day?
I think he's only worth picking up if Neighbors is out, and I think he's only going to be a wide receiver 3 or flex and to help you with a bye. I wouldn't be dropping anybody of any importance for him at all.
I'm with you, B. As long as Neighbors is in and Wendell is playing, if those two are your two receivers on that team, I wouldn't spend any fab on Slayton.
Now, unless
we have a running back that got the start today.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Unless you're starting 2 tight ends like Dalton Kincaid and Kyle Pitts, if you're starting those 2 tight ends,
yes. If you're starting tight ends, then maybe that's
want to look at Darius Slayton. Yes. And also, if you have Aaron Rodgers and Justin Herbert on your team, you might want to think about Flacco or Daniel Jones.
I think we're talking about someone. I feel like you're talking about someone specific, but I'm not sure who it is.
Then he waddled away, waddle, waddle. Then he waddled away, waddle, waddle.
All right. We have one running back who made the list. I didn't watch this game, like I said, and you guys sound like you were watching this one because you're big-time Giants fans, Bernie. Tyron Tracy got the start today in place of Devin Singletary. He finished with a pretty nice stat line. How did he look on the field this week?
So he looked good. Honestly, I'm watching this game and I wasn't fully on it, but I saw Gray in there as well. So I don't know. I think the timeshare is probably going to be maybe like a 75-25. I couldn't tell you that he looked stellar with his runs because I didn't see a lot of his runs when I was watching. I saw a lot of Gray running. So I wouldn't go forward with him unless it was a dire need. And I don't think Singletary's injury is going to be like multiple weeks being out. So
look, we're talking about the Giants backfield.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that basically sums it up, right? If you're putting in a waiver on Tracy or Gray, you've got serious running back issues on your team.
But that also shows you what's going on in the waiver pool as far as running backs go. So if you're not sitting with a lot of depth at running back and you got the buys coming up, you might be in a little bit of trouble.
You might be. Well, but the nice thing about this league is you only got to play one every week.
Yep. Again, the Giants running back's not necessarily super desirable, but again, that Cincinnati matchup is pretty juicy. There's a chance there for decent games. I think the Giants on their own are not worth picking up, but the fact that they have opportunity, assuming Devin Singletary missed another game, or if he does, but the Cincinnati matchup is what kind of pushes that over the limit, at least to consider it going to into next week.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying crossing the streams is not bad?
Well, I don't know. We'll have to find out. It's a wait and see. All right, we got a couple. We mentioned Flacco, but we got a couple receivers here as early waiver wire targets, both for the Colts here. Josh Downs and Alec Pierce. Downs got most of the targets and catches, but Alec Pierce had the big plays once again. How would you rank these guys versus each other? Josh Downs versus Alec Pierce for potential pickup.
Go ahead. You want to go first, Mike?
Well, for me, Downs seems like that was the person that I was looking at picking up at even today.
Me too.
But I just couldn't pull the trigger, right? I honestly, I don't know who to drop on my roster to pick him up.
That's the problem.
But I think, that is the problem. So, but both of them would be good pickups, especially in this league where you can have a ton of receivers on your roster. So I would go for some depth, especially if you've got guys that you can just drop and you don't really care if you need them or not. I would take some flyers on both of them if I could.
Yeah, and I've heard that if Richardson comes back, that he does have a good football relationship with Alec Pierce. So he likes to throw the ball to them. I think they got some timing down. So if Richardson is the long-term solution, out of the two, I would lean towards Pierce. But Josh Downs, same thing. If I'm taking a flyer, if I need a flex option, depending on the matchup, I would consider that too.
All right,
it's always matchup dependent.
We got one more group of players here. We have our tight ends, our favorite position. We had Tucker Kraft with a monster day today for the Packers, and Brock Bowers was the number one receiver for the Raiders. So what do you think about these two tight ends? Are they worth rostering over some of these receivers we mentioned?
Brock Bowers, I think, is this year's. Well, I don't want to say Kyle Pitts because I don't think he is Kyle Pitts, but he's going to be the up and down. You got to find the right game. He might be the sabotage drop. He might be, that person that you're like, oh, I hope he picks him up and he'll just eat up a bench spot. Kraft, on the other hand, he looked good. Like actually watching him play, he looked like a young Gronk without the overbearingness. The way he catches the ball and the way he turns upfield to just run people over, he looked like a beast. So I would consider it, but I am staying away from tight ends. Honestly, it's just too chaotic of a position, and you don't know what these coaches are thinking.
I'm with you. I have a tight end on my roster. He hasn't seen the light of day yet, and probably won't unless I've got some bye week trouble that I got to play him in.
Yeah.
But I only took him because last year he averaged close to 10 targets a game, right? And that's what I would want. So if the tight ends, if Kraft or Bowers to me would be the pickup, because I think Bowers is getting the targets, especially with Devontae out. So he could definitely be the benefactor of receiving all the additional targets once they get rid of Devontae. Kraft, I got to see more, right? It's I don't want to make sure he's not a one and done.
Yeah, not the Isaiah Likely game or anything like that. But who are you trusting to throw to Bowers? Aiden Hutchinson came in later, or not Aiden Hutchinson.
Aiden O'Connell.
Aiden O'Connell came in later in that game. Minshew was on the bench.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm taking a flyer on both of them, but if I had to take one, I'd probably take Bowers. Las Vegas is going to be behind in almost every game, so at least they're going to be throwing the ball.
Okay.
The coach did say after the game they are not committing to a starting quarterback, either O'Connell or Minshew, going into next week.
Yeah, it's too volatile of a situation. I'd like out of these two, I would like Kraft more, but it's again, if that receiving core gets decimated, then jump on Kraft. Just like you should have jumped on Goddard and then held on to him for an extra week because that's when he came alive. So they're not missing their top two receivers yet, though. So.
All right, I got a question for you guys before we wrap this up here and we send Red Sox Nation along. What is the updated points, real points, and projected points for your matchup? You guys are close going into this Sunday night game. What do we got, Bernie?
Matchup is the actual points, 59.4 for me versus the 75.5 for him. The projected outcome, though, is I am sub 100. I'm at 93, and he's at 111.
Wow. Okay.
We're both well over the 86, 87 projected original points, though.
And who do you guys have left going tonight? You have CeeDee Lamb, Red Sox?
CeeDee Lamb. I got Chris Boswell going, the kicker for Pittsburgh.
Okay.
The difference is tomorrow night I've got two players going. I got Kareem Hunt with the Chiefs and Xavier Worthy.
Yep.
And but Bernie's still got Alvin Kamara, so you never know what can happen.
Yep. So I've got Fields and Pickens left, and they didn't really come alive last week until that second half of that game. So I have faith still in those.
That was in
two.
comeback mode though last week. They're not. This game sounds like it's close. They might not need that shootout style.
Still 3-3.
Exactly. But Kamara did lose his questionable tag, so the ribs are feeling well. So he could put up a 40 burger. Who knows?
Good luck hoping. Good luck hoping. All right. Mr. Jimerson, Red Sox Nation, thank you so much for joining us for our 2-point conversation, and good luck on your outcome. We'll go ahead and beat this guy right here. He needs to be taken down a peg, and then lose to me when I play you later. That'll make it up to me. That'll be good.
Awesome. I appreciate you guys, having me on.
Thank you, Mike.
You, sir.
Bye, guys.
All right, guys. I want to thank you all so very much for watching another episode of Wingman Fantasy Football, the League podcast. Don't forget, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn Radio, YouTube Music, and now Amazon Music. And if you just search Wingman the League on those platforms, we'll come to the top of your search. If you want our video and or audio feeds, you can get all of our podcasts at wingmanentertainment.net/podcast. But go ahead and also find us at our YouTube channel at Wingman Fantasy Football.com/YouTube, and go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment, and we will get your comments read into our next mailbag segment. Friendly reminder: we are going to have a live on premises recording of our show at our Oktoberfest beer garden tent. That'll be Saturday, October 19th. I'm not sure when we'll actually get that out to you. It depends. It's a very busy day for me. So maybe we'll get it out by Sunday. Maybe it'll be out Monday. Maybe we'll live stream. We'll figure it out. But between Saturday and Monday on that weekend, we're going to have an on-location show. So with that being said, guys, thank you so much. May your glasses be full. Your mugs stay frosty.
Spoiler alert, Bruce Willis is dead.
Really?
In the movie. Mike, not in real life.
Sorry. All right, before I go, because your last salutation, you said when your drink is empty, it's done, or something like that.
Yes, that was my Madnisms for the drinks.
So yes, my son had one. He said, I'm going to mess it up, but I have to add it here because I laughed when he said, he's like, have you ever noticed whenever you poop, you always pee, but you don't always, you always pee when you poop, but you don't always poop when you pee.
Oh man.
All right, guys. We'll see you.
Notice that.
We'll see you
Bye.
next time. Bye, guys.